Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 17 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Mickey. And Mickey wants to know, would I like to see the Battle of the Block twist come back in another season? I'm gonna have to say no. I wasn't hoping for it to come back this season. It's just like, blah. Alright, and Mickey also wants to know, if not, what is another past twist that I would want to see come back? Honestly, like, I'd really love to see a new twist next season. Something that we haven't seen before. Let's have 3 HOHs and 6 No, I'm just kidding. That's crazy. But yeah, I'd like to see something new. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. So let's talk about what's going on. So they had the Power Veto competition yesterday. Zingbot was in the house. I'll get to the zings in a minute. But first, the players in the Power Veto competition, we had Austin, Steve, John, and the 3 extra players, Meg, Vanessa, and Julia. So the feeds were down for a long time. I mean, a long time, because it was the face morph competition. I wasn't expecting them to pair together Zingbot and the face morph, because I feel like those are 2 really iconic Big Brother things, and I thought that maybe they'd spread them out a little bit more, but pretty exciting stuff. So the winner was Vanessa, and I thought this was really fun because they had these t-shirts that said newly zingle and ready to mingle. I would love that t-shirt. I wonder if that's going to be available on CBS.com. I don't know. But I have to say about Vanessa, you know, good for her for pulling this out, because she could have been in a lot of trouble this week. She won when she needed to. Props. Alright, so let's talk about some of the zings now. Alright. So I feel like last season and the season before, like the last few seasons, usually they like go over these things like crazy after the competition, and they're all like dwelling on it forever, reciting them word for word. This season I feel like that didn't really happen so much. Maybe I missed it, but I don't know the exact zings this season, which is kind of a bummer. So like I said, I don't know the phrasing, but I know most of the content. So here we go. Vanessa's was about how she's playing a masterful game, a masterful crying game. She got the crying one. Meg, I think there was some sort of comparison to Victoria. She's not very good at competitions, so that makes sense. Austin, ooh, he got zinged about that girlfriend back home. Ouch. I wasn't sure if they were going to go there because there's so much you could do with him, like the ponytail beard or like the other stuff. But yeah, the girlfriend at home. Liz, hers was about being in a showmance with a guy who smells. So like it was a double zing for Austin there. Julia, I think hers was about like basically being the lesser twin, because let's face it, Liz is doing all the work here. Julia's just like sitting back. She's got that strong social game. Yeah. James, Meg has him in the friend zone. And then Steve and Johnny Mac, I don't know. I'm gonna assume that Steve's was about him being like awkward or something. I don't know. And then Johnny Mac, I have no idea. So if you guys know, leave it in the comments. I would love to hear them. Alright, so back to what's going on. Meg was very, very emotional after the competition when the feeds came back. I think they were saying that she was like the 3rd best in the competition overall, but she really feels like an idiot because she couldn't identify her own nose during the competition. Meg, I mean, in a way, it like kind of makes sense because you don't stare at yourself all day, or at least you're not supposed to. But like, you should be able to pick out your own facial features, I feel like. I don't know. But she was really embarrassed about that. So then, up in the HOH room, Vanessa and the Oz twins were talking, and Vanessa's just like, okay, look, this is what's happening. I'm not going to use the Power Veto because I know that's what you want. So Steve better not be expecting it. It's not happening. So then Vanessa brings up Meg and her crying. She's super paranoid about it. So at first she's wondering, like, does Meg think that she's getting backdoored this week? Like, what's going on? Why is she crying so much? So we'll put that on hold for a second. Steve comes up to the HOH room. He ends up alone in there with Julia. They start talking about Meg. And Steve is just like, yeah, I got a weird vibe about it too. It couldn't possibly just be because she's embarrassed, because like Meg is one of those people that's like quick to laugh at herself and stuff, so he feels like there's got to be more to it. So then they're like, maybe she's worried that James is going to be backdoored? That would kind of make sense. I don't know. But don't worry, guys. Vanessa's on the case. It's time for Inspector Vanessa to take over. So she confronts Meg, who's crying in the shower. It's best to cry in the shower because then they can't see your tears. So Meg is talking about how she's embarrassed because she sucks in all the competitions and she had just gotten that zing from Zingbot. So she's afraid that she's looking like an idiot on the show. So then she apologizes to Vanessa. She's like, I hope I didn't take away from your win. Like, I wasn't trying to do that at all, so I'm really sorry about that. And Vanessa's just like, no, it's fine. Blah. So then Vanessa goes and chats with Johnny Mac, and she's just like, what's up with Meg and all her crying? What's the deal? So then she makes this leap, and she's just like, was Meg crying because the plan was actually to backdoor me this week? And now that I won the power of veto, that's not gonna happen? Whoa. That's crazy. I mean, yes, Vanessa definitely was potentially a backdoor target, but how she got there from Meg crying is a little bit, what? Or at least I think so. So then Johnny Mac is just like, I don't think that was the plan. Like, I was under the impression that, yes, I was a pawn this week and there is a backdoor target, but he thought it was James. So then Vanessa's just like, look, I don't know what Austin wants me to do with the veto this week, but I'm just telling you right now, I'm pretty much just going to do whatever he wants. So then a couple minutes later, Vanessa's just like, hey, do you have any information that would give me a reason to go against Austin's wishes this week? So she's fishing for some info here. She's going to definitely take advantage of winning this veto this week. So Johnny Mac is just like, you know what? If I go home, I go home. I've been up on the block so many times that I just feel dead. I'm dead. That's so sad. All right, so then she's moving on for now. So she has a very similar conversation with Steve. She's like, was there a plan to backdoor me this week? Steve is like, no, absolutely not. That's a lie. But then Vanessa's just like, well, why was Meg crying so much? And Steve is just like, well, she's probably embarrassed, and she's worried that maybe James is going up on the block. Steve is lying. But then the twins were up in the HOH room talking about who's going to be going home this week. Homer, please. So they both still want Johnny Mac out at that point. They feel like they can't trust him. He's sneaky. And they feel like Steve is more loyal. So it's the lesser of two evils. But Liz is just like, you know what? They're both boring. Who cares? Yeah, because we really enjoy watching you make out with Tuna Beard all day. That's really, really entertaining. So then Meg joins them, and they tell her Vanessa will not be using the veto this week. So it seems like Meg gets a little bit happier after she hears that. Her Jamesy will not be at risk. So then Vanessa continues her investigation. She moves on to Austin, and she's like, Austin, be real with me right now. Was I the backdoor plan this week? And of course Austin's like, no, of course not. What? He does admit that he told Johnny Mac that it was a possibility that he'd be putting up Vanessa, but he's just like, no, I didn't actually mean it. Like, I was just talking to Johnny Mac. Of course I'm going to say that. So then Vanessa's just like, well, I'm convinced that Meg was crying because I was going to be the target this week, but now that I won Power Veto, y'all can suck it. So Austin still is just like, no, like, that's not the case at all. So then Austin brings up some concerns that he has about Steve. He's like, why did Steve not go after James during the double eviction? Like, that was really weird. So there's a piece of ribbon on this notebook, and Homer really likes it. So Austin is just like, I think Steve is playing both sides, and we need to look out for him. So it's not totally unreasonable to think that Steve could be in trouble this week. You know, he could be in trouble. So then, up in the HOH room, Vanessa starts breaking stuff down for the Oz twins. She's like, I figured it out, guys. Here's what's going on. Steve and Johnny Mac are working with the goblins, and their plan this week was to convince Austin to nominate me as a pawn and then they were going to just go ahead and vote me out anyway. And then they were going to work with whoever comes back from the jury this week. So then it would be 5 against 3, and they're just going to pick you suckers off one by one. So then Vanessa is saying that Steve has been masterminding this whole plan, working with the goblins, and her next step is to catch him in a lie. Of course! What else is she going to do? So then Vanessa leaves the Oz twins alone. They're talking. And it seems like they are just picking up whatever Vanessa's putting down. They're like, yeah, I don't know if we can trust Steve now. Like, I think he's working with the goblins. I don't feel so good about this. But Austin's like, you know what I do feel good about? Vanessa being our 4th person in the group. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, he's feeling really good about her right now. She's working her magic. Also, side note, he still doesn't want to go after James this week. Is Homer in the shot right now? Yeah, okay. Please sit down, sir. So he feels good about James, too. He still wants to keep that connection with the goblins strong. So then Johnny Mac and Vanessa had a very important talk in the backyard this morning. Like, very important. So she's trying to get some information out of him. Again, she is working this power veto win. And they're hashing out a lot of things from the past because we know that these two have not seen eye to eye for most of the game. So they hash that stuff out, and then Vanessa's like, are you over all that crap from earlier in the game? And Johnny Mac is just like, yeah, it's whatever. So he's saying, like, he's got nobody right now, and he knows that it's very likely that Vanessa has played at least some part in a lot of his friends going home, but he's got no one at this point. So he's just like, yeah, I'm so desperate I'll even work with you. He didn't say it like that, but that's basically what he meant. So he's saying, like, he doesn't think that anyone's going to keep him over Steve this week, so he's got nothing going on. So Vanessa is just like, wow, I feel really good about everything we just talked about. Like, I'm going to try to help you out. I'm going to see what I can do for you. I'd love to work with you in this game. So that being said, they're still going to pretend like they hate each other because they don't want people to catch on to them working together. Is this really going to happen? I don't know. But then Austin is talking to Johnny Mac. He also wants some information from him. He asks him, do you have Final 2 with Steve? And Johnny Mac is like, it's not official, but basically, yeah. So Austin is like, you know what? I'm not even mad about it. Like, it's not a bad thing. You're allowed to have that Final 2 with him. Really? Thanks. But now it seems like Austin is fishing for some information about James and Meg. It sounds like he's looking for a reason to put one of them up on the block. No! So then Steve and Vanessa are chatting, and Steve admits that he lied to Vanessa last night. She really was potentially going to be a backdoor target this week. So then Vanessa has to get some more info out of him. She's like, why were you going around saying that you wanted to go up against me and not Johnny Mac this week? And at first, Steve is just like, I never said that, which, again, he's lying. But he's totally blowing it. He's getting flustered. He can't lie fast enough right now. He's like, I'm getting confused. You're confusing me. So, I don't know if Vanessa realized that he was lying about that. I'm gonna guess yes. I don't know if that's gonna affect her decision this week or what, but it definitely seems like Vanessa is pushing for a goblin to go up. So, she keeps saying that Meg is a mastermind. I don't know about that, but it's gonna be interesting to see if the Oz twins fall for this stuff and they go after the goblins after all. I don't know. But the power veto ceremony is tomorrow, so we're going to get some answers soon. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to happen. Do you think that Vanessa's going to use the POV? And who would Austin put up in Johnny Mac or Steve's place? Let me know. And until tomorrow, much love. Edit.